You're listening to New England Real Estate Journal Radio with Rick Kaplan, New England's source for commercial real estate news. This is New England Real Estate Journal Radio on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com.
Welcome to the New England and the New York Real Estate Journal Radio Show. I'm Rick Kaplan with Eric Wilson, and we're here. Good evening, Eric.
Good evening, Rick.
I know you're anxious to get you onto that mic.
I'm ready to go.
But we're here today at the Young Jewish Professionals Real Estate Summit in Boston at the Posternak, Blankstein, and Lund offices that in the Prudential Center.
Right, 33rd floor.
Or the Prudential Tower, I should say.
You should.
And
on the Larry Bird level.
And we are going to hear from some of the speakers that are going to be speaking tonight here in a panel. Harold Brown from the Hamilton Company.
Former NEREJ radio guest.
Yes. Marc Resnick, the Beantown Companies. He's a founder and principal. Eric Silverman from Eastham Capital, founder and managing partner. Jason Weissman, Boston Realty Advisors, also a founder and principal. And hopefully we'll be able to get some of them on for a quick interview before the end of our show.
I'm sure it's an exciting panel. A lot of big names who do really big things here in Boston, especially in the multifamily market. So I'm excited to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, and they are going to talk about some of the things that are going on in the Boston market as well. But before we go any further, I want to thank some of our sponsors. We have quite a few sponsors for our...
You're welcome, Rick. Oh.
for our New England and our New York radio show. I'd like to thank Procon Construction, which is a new sponsor for us. The City of Marlborough, Mass., also a new sponsor. The City of Hartford, Connecticut, which has been a longtime sponsor. The City of Rochester, New Hampshire, also a longtime sponsor. And Comstack, and also Video Doorman, which I'd like
shout out to them.
I want to thank them for sponsoring our show.
And they allow us to have a great time once a week doing the show.
We also have quite a few events that are coming up.
We do. We have a lot coming up.
We'll also be doing our show from some of these events.
We will. I know that I just did a roundtable this week with BOMA, and we did a social media luncheon. That was a fantastic success, probably because I was a speaker, and I enjoy listening to myself speak, so that worked out for me.
Yeah.
But, no, we had a really good time. We had to talk about, social media campaigns. We're 3 years in now and kind of see where we are and what's working and stuff, so that was a lot of fun. But I know IREM's got a couple events coming up. Get out to Stoneham on March 12th. They're having a big networking event up there, and also the following week, March 19th, we're going to Anheuser-Busch to tour that facility. Yeah,
you seem to like that tour.
I do. I tend to go to.
I'm a big fan of Anheuser-Busch myself.
I'll be honest with you. I tend to do all the brewery tours with IREM. They're a lot of fun, and it's a big turnout too. It's usually some of the bigger turnout for the events, other than like the awards or the installation dinners and things like that, and of course the golf event. But I've been with IREM now 2 years, and I really do look forward to the Anheuser-Busch tour. Because they have Stella, by the way, just so you know.
Oh,
for everyone who doesn't know.
Anheuser-Busch?
Yeah, Stella's there on tap. That's why I do love it. You're welcome.
Always good to know.
You're welcome, Stella, and if you need to, you can sponsor us as well.
One of the things we do every year is the HELP conference
in April.
That's April 13th and the 14th at the Seaport Waterfront Hotel in Boston.
Yeah, shout out to Jim O'Connell. What a great
Jim
event
O'Connell puts on a great conference, and it's a 2-day event. The first night, he usually has a comedian, and then they have a dining around town type
you
of.
You pick
what restaurant you want to go to. Yeah, he does a good job.
Great job, great event.
And there's always a big turnout there.
Yes,
a lot of people show up.
Definitely.
This is a very interesting event. NEREJ, Cocktails and Conversation, Northern New England at the Harbor Events and Conference Center on April 23rd.
I was going to say, we usually say November.
I was going to say November.
That's so far away. Yeah, April 23rd. Get out to Portsmouth. We're going to have a big event in the Northern New England. Hopefully the snow.
This is our second annual in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Hopefully the snow will die down. But, I'm looking forward to a great event there as well. Should have a well-rounded group of professionals and throughout the whole industry, kind of like we do in all the events we go to.
And June 4th, the Connecticut Business Expo. It's put on by the Hartford Business Journal, and we also will be doing our show from that event
as well.
Yeah, during the event.
Right.
June 17th.
Those are always fun too. Just so people don't know, going to the trade shows or
the business expo is fun.
A lot of fun. You get a lot of different people that come through and give yourself. It's almost like rapid fire interviews.
Yeah,
but we have a lot of fun. So
yeah,
and
it's a very easy.
Right.
Very casual
it's
type
almost like
of interview.
Speed dating, but for you and I, it's speed interviewing.
Right. Speed interview.
But a lot of fun,
I like
though.
that.
Yeah, right. We have a good time.
And June 17th at the Boston Convention Center, NEBFM.
Right. Another great trade show.
2015. That's a great trade show.
We'll be doing our radio show from
and we'll be
well.
doing our show from that event as well at the Boston Convention Center.
Shout out to the Pro Expos group. They do a great job putting on a great event out there
But we're going to come back. We're going to do some interviews with some of the attendees and some of the speakers of the Young Jewish Professionals Real Estate Summit. But right now, we'll be right back on Money Matters Radio Network.
The next level in commercial real estate. This is New England Real Estate Radio on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com.
Commercial real estate can be a risky endeavor if you don't have all the information you need to make an educated decision. Why spend time digging for data when CompStack provides investors, lenders, and landlords accurate lease comps for office, industrial, and retail properties, starting rents, concessions, and more in just a few clicks? The world's largest investors and lenders use CompStack to benchmark their properties and underwrite their deals. Shouldn't you? CompStack. Better data, better deals. Visit getleasecomps.com today.
Rick Kaplan on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com.
Welcome back to the New England and New York Real Estate Journal Radio Show. I'm Rick Kaplan with Eric Wilson, and we have our first guest is Rabbi Director Mayshe Schwartz of the Young Jewish Professionals of Boston. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm very excited. This is actually our kickoff real estate event, and so it's exciting just to be here at the law firm of Pasternak. We have a tremendous cast of panelists. We have Harold Brown. You can Google him. We have Eric Silverman, Jason Weissman, and Marc Resnick. So we're looking forward to tonight.
So this is the first of this type of event that you put on.
We have multiple networking events. We have events that are in finance, events in networking events in law, as well as medical. We'll be starting up tech and a few others, but this is the actual first real estate event, and it's a very popular start so far.
Now, the Young Jewish Professionals in Boston, is this connected to a national group?
Actually, it is an emerging national group from bottom up, which is beginning to exist in several cities already and will be rolling out into many more cities. So there is a YJP Atlanta as well as in Miami. There's several in New York. The names can vary, but the concept of having young adults in their 20s and 30s, millennials, if you will, connecting not just in the synagogue but also in the business sector, whatever one that they are connected with.
And how long has the YJP in Boston been around?
So we've been here about 10 years, actually, but in terms of the official, YJP branding name, I would say the last 5 years.
Okay.
We do perm parties at Club Rumor. We do Shabbat dinners at our center, and then this is more of the business type networking events that we do, which brings us to real estate tonight.
Now, am I too old to get involved in it?
No, but you'd have to be on my side of the desk. You have to hang out with the rabbi if you want to show up. We're not really strict on the age, but it is the 20s and 30s. We're trying to cater to millennials. So.
Yeah, well, I'm way over that.
Yes,
I know. I know. I don't look like I'm over 30, but I am.
No, you look 35, not more. Not more.
Rabbi Mayshe, how did you get involved with the YJP?
It's a great question, and I look forward to sharing the answer. As a rabbi, you got to see many young adults come through the different events that we did. We know that in today's day and age, religion is not on the forefront of a young adult's mind. So you have to be appealing and fresh as to engage different types of programs that will talk to them. So a Friday night Shabbat dinner has to look a little bit different than what their grandmothers did. And even when you maximize those, what more can you do to reach more people? So from the Shabbat dinners, we merged in, let's say, perm parties at, venues like Club Rumor, and we did Hanukkah parties at Jillian's overlooking Fenway. So you have to really meet and engage the people where they're at. Mm-hmm. At a certain point, we realize, okay, we're reaching a certain amount of people, but those are the ones who want to socially connect. What about the ones that want to advance their careers? And if you can't provide it for them, they'll find somewhere else. So why not us? Even though we have I'm a rabbi and we're a Jewish organization, but we have a network. We can go ahead and provide the same thing. And tonight's a big proof of that. So we realize, let's listen to our audience. Let's hear what they want. Let's provide it, and in return, there'll be reciprocity on every single level.
So it's not strictly a Jewish. It's young professionals, but geared to the Jewish.
Correct. So it is
millennials.
YJP, Young Jewish Professionals. We don't have security and we don't check circumcisions. We are an open, friendly environment and society. But we recognize that with the assimilation of our people, it's important to keep the Jewish people together, whether it's at the Shabbat table or even a real estate networking event. So, at the same time, we're, of course, friendly and civil, and we welcome everybody.
And you said this is the inaugural real estate summit.
Correct.
And you're looking to add tech later. How many conferences are you running, or these type of summits? How many are you running a year?
So right now we're doing about 3 to 4 based on what division we're in, what sector we're in. We have already begun. This is our 4th sector, and so do the math. It's 16, but it can vary. If we, sometimes there's other things going on in the city, and we can go up or down. We're not locked in, and there's not a membership fee, and so there's no real expectation. But we try to do it, once a quarter, sometimes less than that.
If someone is interested in becoming a member, well, you say there's no membership fee.
That's correct.
But if someone is interested and they want to find out more about being more involved with the YJP, where would they go to?
We have a very strong website called YJPBoston.org. You Google YJP Boston, we'll show up probably number 1. We have a strong Facebook presence. We're very strong on social media. This is not the stuff I learned when I was in yeshiva, but you got to be quick on your feet these days.
That's right.
We have Facebook feeds, Twitter accounts, Instagram, all that good stuff. So for any young adult, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. There are many young adults that come from New York, from Arizona, big towns, small towns. They come to Boston. They don't know anybody. All of a sudden, they join the YJP network, whether it's a real estate, whether it's a law, whether it's a Shabbat dinner.
Right.
They're connecting with a lot of people. And I can actually watch their Facebook status in terms of all their friends go from 5 people in Boston to 105. And that's what we're looking for. We want people to connect with each other.
That's great.
Yeah.
I like the idea.
Yeah.
I'm glad you invited us to your inaugural real estate
That's
summit.
right.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys are here.
Fits right into what we do.
Yeah.
All right.
That's Rabbi Director Mayshe Schwartz.
Correct.
Of the Young Jewish Professionals in Boston. And we thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
I really appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for coming out yourself.
And our next guest is Eric Silverman of Eastham Capital. And he is the co-founder of Eastham Capital. I should have said that from the beginning. And you're going to be one of the speakers tonight.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Rick?
So what is some of the topics that you're going to be speaking about tonight?
Well, I've been asked to talk about successes and failures in my business career, and I'm expecting that the failures will be more interesting.
What does Eastham Capital do for some of our listeners who may not be familiar?
Absolutely. So we are a private equity real estate firm. We are currently investing our 4th fund. We manage a total of approximately $200 million. We buy apartment complexes, usually 200 to 300 unit apartment complexes, larger, garden-style suburban apartments all over the United States. We have investments in 11 states, nothing in Massachusetts.
Wow. Headquartered here in Massachusetts?
We are headquartered here in Massachusetts. We live here in Massachusetts. We would love to buy in Massachusetts, but it's too expensive, and we can't make the returns that we'd like to make.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Harold.
I was going to ask.
That's a good question. Harold Brown will pay more than me for an apartment in Boston. I am confident of that.
Well, yeah. Is it all relative, though? You're paying more, but the rent is your revenue is probably going to be higher.
Well, maybe his revenue is higher. I mean, our average rent across our portfolio, we own about 7,000 apartment units across 11 states, and our average rent is probably in the neighborhood of $800.
Okay. Nice.
Is that
I'd like
right?
to live there.
Yeah.
I want to also live in Massachusetts.
Boy, you
so
wouldn't
can't
believe
afford
in
that.
Texas you can live very nice for $800
Yes,
a month.
you can, I'm sure. And then also
Yeah.
real estate markets, too.
Yeah, we've been very successful in Texas. It's a market that has been growing very nicely. Probably half of our portfolios in Texas, and we've both bought properties and sold properties. Another thing that may be a little different from us than maybe Harold, maybe not, or some other real estate owners, is that we don't buy and hold forever. It's a great strategy to buy and hold for a very long time,
Right.
but that's not what we do. We buy the property. We typically buy when they're broken. We fix it, we get good cash flow, and then we sell it. And our target hold period is 3 to 5 years. Sometimes they go faster, always more than a year for tax treatment. You want good tax treatment. But we've been selling some properties. We have a property that's selling on Monday that we've owned for a year and 8 months.
Wow.
And we invested $1.7 million in that property, and we'll take out about $3 million.
Wow.
So we'll almost double our money.
And how long has Eastham Capital been around?
8.5 years.
Okay.
And how do you bring in outside investors?
We do. We raise money from high net worth individuals and families. We have about 300 investors in our current fund. We raised that fund last year. It's a $100 million fund, the current fund. So that's how we raise capital from individuals really all over the country. A lot here in Massachusetts.
So there's no real specific area that you like to invest. You just like to invest where you think that you'll be able to get a better return on your
Absolutely. What we do say is that we fix properties, not neighborhoods. We're in the business of fixing broken properties. They typically are financially, physically, managerially, ownership problems when we buy them, which we're able then to buy them for a better value.
Right.
And we fix them, but we don't fix neighborhoods. We are looking for stable neighborhoods, and growing is great. In Texas, we've had some growing neighborhoods, but frankly, we're selling 2 deals right now in Ohio. We've owned those deals for about 4.5 years. There's far suburbs of Cincinnati. There's not very exciting, and we had a bidding war to buy our properties, and we're going to make a very, very good return for our investors on those.
Well, it sounds like you have it down to a...
It sounds like your success is going to be pretty interesting, too.
You figured out the science to it.
Well, you get caught up in one. I have, and many others have gotten caught up in their successes. So most of our rules around how we invest, and we have very specific rules. We have 5 rules, if you'd like to hear them.
Sure, of course.
Okay.
I think everyone wants to hear.
Okay, these are our 5 rules. Actually, there was just an article in another periodical. Can I mention another periodical? It's called Multi-Housing News, so it relates to the apartment business.
Right.
Multi-Housing News. That does a Q&A with me. So if you Google Multi-Housing News Eric Silverman, it came out last week, and you can hear the same thing I'm about to say right now.
Okay.
So my 5 rules are... I got to back up and tell you that as a fund that invests in properties, we don't manage the properties ourselves.
Okay.
So we joint venture, where we put up the majority of the equity. We joint venture with local operators. So our rules are our operators have to be local. That's relatively simple. We only invest with local operators because guys like Harold Brown, who are local to Boston, those are the guys that get the deals.
Right.
I'm not going to come into Boston and just start making deals. I mean, I can, but I'm not going to get as good deals. So I want to go to the markets with the partners that are already in the market. Number 1. Number 2, they have to self-manage. They have to be owner-operators that manage the properties. There are institutional investors who believe that management is a commodity. We don't. We think it's an important component of managing property, especially rental housing, which is a lot different than managing, say, an office building where people all go home at 6 or 8 o'clock at night and then don't come back till 6 or 8 o'clock the next morning, and you have 12 hours to fix things. We're talking about properties where people live 24/7 all year round. So the management of properties is very important to us, and we only work with operators that self-manage. We never hire what's called a third-party manager. Other people can, we don't. The third piece is we only invest with operators that put real skin in the game, usually 20% of the equity. So there are some investors that don't mind if the sponsor, the guy bringing the deal, puts up little to no money. We mind. We only do deals where they put up real money and take the same risk as us. Now, we put up more capital, usually 80% of the money, so we've got a lot of capital in, but we want our properties. My 4th rule is we fix properties, not neighborhoods. We reviewed that before. And the 5th rule is we only do deals where we can make at least a 10% cash flow return on our properties after we fix them. So it may take a year or 2 to fix them, but we only do deals where we can make a 10% cash flow return. Ergo, we can't find deals in Boston, New York, San Francisco, these very tight markets, expensive markets, because they don't exist.
Do you tend to look into like Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and the surrounding areas?
We've done quite a bit in upstate New York.
Okay.
Last deal we did in upstate New York was in Binghamton. We're looking at a deal now in Albany.
Okay.
Actually, not Albany. It's out towards Buffalo. Next closest market for us is Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
And the bulk of our portfolio is in the middle of the country, quite a bit in Texas, as I said before, and we're as north as Minnesota and as south as Mississippi.
Nice.
Eric, let me ask you, you were talking about when you partner with someone that would be from that marketplace.
Right.
Do you have a set guideline of how you would want them operating?
No, because we're out looking for the best managers, and I'm not going to tell a manager how to run their business. If I need to tell a manager how to run their business, I don't need them. So I'm looking for the guys that know how to run the properties, that do a good job. I should tell you that we've talked to over 1,000 operators in pretty much every state in the country, and we've invested with 7. And it's a big deal for us to add a new partner, and that's the harder part. You would think that the harder part is picking the right properties. Relatively easy to pick the right properties. The numbers have to work, and you have to believe that they're going to work. But even much more important than that, 10 times more important, is having the right partners and doing it with the right people.
Right, because I'm sure most of the properties that you've looked at, some of the failures of those properties were probably because of the management of that.
I didn't say that, Rick.
No, I know you didn't.
But I agree with you.
But I did.
I agree with that as well.
We thank you for coming on.
Okay,
Eric.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That was
Enjoy the
Eric.
panel.
Yeah, and
I'm looking forward to it.
And we're looking forward to listening to the whole panel in a few minutes.
Excellent.
That's Eric Silverman of Easton Capital. He's a co-founder with Easton Capital.
Thanks so much.
We'll be right back on Money Matters Radio Network.
Rick Kaplan and Eric Wilson, right here on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com.
Listen, are you living in a condo or co-op? Do you have difficulty receiving deliveries from UPS, FedEx, or your pharmacy when you're not home? Well, there's a solution. Video Doorman. It's a security system with live on-call operators for condos and co-ops that receives packages when you're out, stores them in a safe package room, and then notifies you about your delivery. They can even handle dry cleaning, pickup, and delivery. But there's more. If you come home late at night and don't feel safe, just press the Video Doorman key fob, and the Video Doorman operator will greet you by name and escort you right up to your floor. He can see you and speak to you and handle any potential problem. And Video Doorman costs only about $1 a day. Call Video Doorman at 888-697-3630 or visit videodoorman.com to receive a free building evaluation. That number again is 888-697-3630. Call now, feel safer, and never miss a delivery again.
New England Real Estate Journal Radio.
And we're back on New England and New York Real Estate Journal Radio Show. I'm Rick Kaplan with Eric Wilson, and we have with us the one and only Harold Brown of the Hamilton Company. And Harold was a guest of ours once before, about a year ago, I'd say. And Harold's going to be speaking.
How
are you, Harold?
Talking about on the panel today?
Pardon me?
What you going to do on the panel today?
Depends what I'm the last to speak. It depends what the other three say.
Just coming in winging it, right?
That's right.
Nice.
Totally impromptu.
Well, I mean, you're never really lost for words.
That's true. That is true.
We've heard you at many panels, and we've like I said before, we've had you on our show, and you've had a lot of experience. Let's say
60 years. Last year was our 60th anniversary.
Wow! Congratulations.
Wow.
And you bought your first 6-unit building, if I remember, in 1954.
54.
Look at that.
Memory, yeah.
Look at that. See,
1292 Gumbo.
First one to do basement apartments, I believe, if I'm correct.
We call them garden apartments.
Garden
yeah,
apartments,
got it. That's right. He put a plant in the front of the window.
Put a bush in front of the window, and you stand in the far corner of the room on your tiptoes and look up, and you see the bush.
Nice.
That's right. That became a garden apartment.
Thus, a garden apartment.
And the rent went up another $500 because of that.
Not that much. No.
Maybe in 2015. How is the multifamily industry doing this year, or in the last?
Well, as we all know, the multifamily industry is booming all over the country. More so in Boston and New York than other parts of the country.
Yeah, right. Well, especially with all the buildings that we're doing in Fan Pier, Southport,
Seaport, the South End.
That's what I meant.
Right.
I put them
South
together.
Boston. No,
It's all Boston.
what about the city seems to be expanding out more because they need more multifamily housing.
Right. There's a lot more construction in the suburbs than there's been before. As you say, there's more need, and the rents in Boston are very high. So to get a more moderate rent, they're moving to the suburbs.
Now, are you at Hamilton Company? Are you guys doing any? Do you guys do construction, or is it only management?
We do rehab, partial gut rehab, and new construction. We've done that for years.
Are you guys doing any new construction right now as we speak?
Yes. We have under construction about 100 units and about 200 in the pipeline.
Okay.
It
All
takes-
here in Boston?
Yes, it takes a couple of years to get a permit.
Well, I'm sure.
A couple of years?
Well, by the time you get the architectural plans.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good. Because it seems to we interview quite a few mayors and EDCs. A lot of them are trying to roll the process, move it along a lot quicker now because they're trying to get more involvement in their communities. So, when you say a couple of years, a lot of them say that it would take a lot less when you go to apply for permits now.
Well, when I said 2 years, what I meant to include is the creation of the idea, the blueprints, and community meetings, and the permits. That whole thing takes about 2 years. The permit itself is probably 6 or 8 months. I think.
Now, has it been? Have they had that process sped up a little, or is it?
Well, I think it depends on the person applying for the permit. If it's a person who doesn't know what they're doing, it takes time, or they can't. If they're not flexible, it takes time.
But I'm trying to figure out if it's gotten better from 10 years ago till now. The process, especially with a lot of the digital age of how they're making blueprints and they're designing buildings, it seems to be a lot quicker process.
I would say it's the same as it was when I first started.
Oh, it is.
Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That is.
Because
I think with the time,
right?
Interesting but true.
Yeah.
Well, it just takes time.
Right.
Because you make the plans, you have to adjust for community input. The building department, there are always new code laws, and you have to adjust. Some of the architects don't even know what the new laws are. It just takes time.
Yeah.
Now, are you outside of Boston as well? Are you anything?
We
in the
used
pipeline?
we used to be across the country,
Okay.
but I decided I don't like traveling, so we now are only in Massachusetts and New Hampshire.
Wow.
Now, you're in New Hampshire. How far in New Hampshire do you?
Nashua. We have about 500 units.
Oh, in Nashua.
Okay.
In New Hampshire.
Do you plan on any expansion into that New Hampshire?
In New Hampshire, not yet. No.
No.
Most of our expansion is in Massachusetts.
Now, what would you consider the next hot areas in Massachusetts?
Well, there aren't many left. But to answer your question more succinctly, I would say Somerville is an up-and-coming area. Dorchester, Roxbury.
Wow.
So some of the areas that haven't been really touched in many years.
Right, and probably a distant fourth is Quincy, I would say.
Yeah, Quincy.
Actually, Rick and I were talking about this the other day. If you, as you can see in Boston, we're redeveloping all these areas. And are we redeveloping them to last 50 years or 100 years? Or are we going to have to redevelop every 20 years in order to keep Boston having construction jobs? And
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by redevelopment.
yeah, new construction. So you redid the Seaport. You've added these 2 new towers. You've used up all this space.
Many of the buildings, for example, we own are 40, 50, 60 years old. So the
Right.
buildings they're constructing today will last 50, 60, 70 years.
Right. So if we continue to use all of this space, where do we go from there? In 40 years, if everything's already been redone within the last 40.
Well, at some point in time, because of the inherent inflation in all economies, rents will achieve such a level that it'll pay to tear down an existing building and build a new one, which you do.
Yeah, now, the buildings that are being put up right now, I mean, they should last.
Oh, they're good for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
They're good for 100 years.
Right.
But at some point, it'll make sense to tear them down and put up a new building, like many single-family homes that sell for, say, $1 million, put in a great location. Someone will buy it and tear down the house and put up a better house. I mean, that's ongoing through the ages.
As a matter of fact, I just read recently about Twin Donuts. You investing in remodeling Twin Donuts.
We spent more remodeling it than we paid for it.
Yeah, because we know that's how you started out, was in the donut industry.
Well, that's how I started out, but at one point, I was in the donut business.
Yeah. So
in Moline, Illinois, in 1948, 1949, you know.
See, now everything it comes back in style. Years ago, everyone said, "Oh, don't eat donuts, don't eat, desserts. It's no good for you."
They still say that.
Yeah, well, but now no one listens. That's the big difference.
But there is gourmet donuts is a big thing here in Boston. It's a great spot.
Yeah. But then when I came back to Boston, I had a donut shop in Somerville, in Cambridge, and Boston.
How come you didn't name your company the Howard Brown Company or the Brown Management Company or the Brown Corporation? What was it, Hamilton Company?
Very simple answer. I named it the Hamilton Company.
Yeah, that was it. Hamilton. Where does Hamilton come from? Family name?
The third building I bought was on Hamilton Road.
Oh.
And I was in love with a girl who lived in that building.
Oh, yeah.
So we called it
Hamilton. Now I remember the story.
That's a great story. Did anything ever come to that girl?
Where I got it?
Yeah.
The name, I say Old English.
Huh?
But you know the truth.
Yeah.
So did anything come with that? Did you ever meet that? Did that girl have same feelings after you named the company after her?
Despite the fact she married someone else, I kept the name.
Right.
Well, it was her loss.
It was her loss.
I like to think so.
Well, we appreciate you coming on the
coming
show,
on
Harold.
It's
always a pleasure to have you.
Very welcome.
And we look forward to you in the panel.
Yeah, and we'll enjoy listening to you on the panel. Great. Harold Brown of the Hamilton Company. And our next guest is Marc Resnick, and he is with the Beantown Company. And also, you will be speaking as well on the panel.
Yes, I will.
So what is the Beantown Companies?
See, now you took the words right out of my mouth.
I'm stealing your questions, Rick.
The Beantown Company is our management company and development company that develops and rents and manages all the properties that we own.
Is it so? You also own the properties and you manage them?
Correct.
And are they all residential, multifamily?
Mostly. We have a couple 100 apartments and then also some commercial properties as well.
Okay.
And it's mainly in Massachusetts.
All in Massachusetts.
All in Massachusetts. Yeah. So what is this weather we've been having as a management company? Has this been a trying year for you?
Very difficult this year. A lot of troubles. We basically stopped making progress on things and basically are just chasing the insurance claims, broken pipes, frozen sprinkler systems, everything. So, and then just driving around, you can't really drive around anymore. So it makes it pretty difficult.
When you say just Massachusetts, do you mean how far west do you go? Do you go to Worcester or are you
no, even that.
In?
I stay very close. We're as far as Framingham and Waltham, maybe. Okay. And then.
So like the 128.
Yeah, close.
Little circle.
Yeah, when you manage properties, 10 or 20 miles is actually like a completely different place, and same plumbers and other management staff can't be on both sides of the town at the same time. So it's harder to manage.
How did you get into this?
I became an apartment painter when I was about 26 or 7.
An apartment painter?
Yes.
That's where you started. Wow,
yes.
Nice. You're a success story right in front of our own eyes.
So you were
Painter
painting
to
the
owner.
apartments, and then you started to buy the buildings.
I started buying condos in the late 80s, and then the real estate market crashed. And then I actually took out 35 credit cards and bought 40 more condos.
Smart.
On credit cards.
All on credit cards.
Wow.
Wow.
And,
That's a good story.
I figured that if the 10 condos I already owned weren't going to, if they weren't worth like 20 cents on the dollar, I was pretty much going to, if they pay 20 cents on the dollar, if that's not a good deal.
Right.
Yeah, right.
What the hell am I going to do? So,
That's really interesting.
And what year has the Beantown Company's been around? How long has that been around itself?
we've been called the Beantown Companies for about 17 or 18 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I do this, you have a different entity that owns the property versus the one that manages it. So the Beantown manages them all, but we probably have about 40 or 50 entities that actually own them.
Okay.
So.
And when you join this summit, what is it you're going to talk about? Your successes and failures, or the overall market, or?
Well, we were sort of given a list of possible questions they might ask. So I think they're mostly looking about not what you've done, but what you think of the real estate market and the interest rate market and current things like that.
Sweet. Why don't you answer those up, Mark?
Yeah.
What do you think about the current market?
What do you think of it?
Well, the current market is still maybe in the middle. So I'd say it's still going up. So it always will go up past its equilibrium point, so that then it'll fall back down. So it's still on the way up, because one of the things I learned is that it can't go down until it stops going up. So real estate market goes up for a long time. When it hits the top, then it sort of falls very fast.
Okay.
So you'll know it's going to go down when it stops going up. What follows going up is falling. So first it levels and then it drops off, and it's going to happen.
So, but on a rental, which is what you're talking about, is you don't just drop your rental prices.
You may have to.
Is that right?
No, in hard times, well, unless you want to be vacant. And so vacant, we don't ever have vacancy.
Okay.
In other words, I don't even use a vacancy rate in the communities I work in, because if you lower the price a little, there's a price sensitivity. So if you can't rent your apartment for $2,000, just charge $18,000, and gone it is. The guy who doesn't lower his price to $18,000 next month is hoping for $16,000.
Right.
After he's been vacant for 4 or 5
Right.
months, he'll take anything.
So now you're tying them in for a year.
Well, there's a thing I call the vacancy market. So in Boston, everything rents from 9/1 to 9/1. So if you miss that market, you're thrown into the vacancy market, where there are 30 apartments, but only 5 will get rented.
Right.
So at the beginning, there are 20,000 apartments, and 19,900 of those will get rented. But at the end, there's only a couple of renters, and you don't need a lot of apartments.
Right.
Because if there are 10 apartments and only 5 clients, 5 are going to be vacant no matter what.
Yeah.
There's no option.
And now, is the 9/1 to 9/1 based on school?
It is based on the students, but even regular people, it's even young adults and everyone else, it's still 9/1 to 9/1.
Do you think that transfers on all cities or just here in Boston because of that?
Well, the Alston and the local, it spreads out to Somerville and Cambridge, everything we do in Somerville and Cambridge, because since everyone else is moving, it's the best time to find the client.
Right.
So if you're off season, like the middle of the winters, like right now, I have tenants that are waiting to move, and they just won't move.
Yeah.
Because of the weather.
Right, of course.
They're just not moving. It's too
Right.
hard. They're not moving.
Yeah, I mean,
Probably
it's
has to
too
do with
difficult.
the
Yeah, it's
straight
too
blizzards
difficult.
we had, or
Right.
The mountains of snow.
Yeah.
it's hard to move a couch when you can't. You can barely walk to your car.
You have no place to even put a truck to take the stuff off.
It's been very paralyzing this year. No, winter's always a nuisance, but
course.
not like this.
Yeah,
Right.
this
Well,
has
it's kind
been
of weird because it's all within a small window of like a month.
And with
Right.
no melting days in between.
Right.
Usually if there's a big storm, it warms up sometimes, some melts away.
Right, it melts away.
Here, they're basically just trucking it away.
What do you think about? Do you have your apartment buildings? They have their own parking?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not street parking.
Some of each.
Yeah?
So the ones with parking, it costs a lot of money to plow the lots. And you lose spaces because the snow has to go somewhere.
Right.
So it gets tougher and tougher. Tougher and tougher.
do you now I'm only using this because I see this stuff in the news. Do you have a snow farm, or do you guys take the snow, put it into a truck, and move it out? You just
Too expensive.
right.
Yeah, it's called the Charles River, right?
It's bad money. And there was that I try to spend money on improvements
Right.
to the apartment. I'd much rather buy $1,000 of appliances than spend $500 moving the snow from left to right.
Right.
Because you don't get any.
Right.
So new things. I like to buy improvements that are more long lasting.
Okay, and what do you have in store for 2015 in the short-term future?
I think the real estate market will be really strong again next year. Until they really raise the interest rates, then the real estate market will stay very strong because competitive investments are so low. In other words, T-bills and things are 1%. People are buying real estate now to make 5%,
Right.
which is very naive.
Right.
Because large maintenance bills will equally wipe out your entire 5% and you'll make none. So you
That's a
have
little
to try
tidbit.
to make real estate's really risky still. So when you're trying to make like 5 or 10% returns, you might make 1 or 3. It's much harder than people.
Give it credit.
There's a lot of things that they're unforeseen, but they're guaranteed. Like if it's not really cold, it's really hot. Or it's really cold, so the oil bills are high, but
Right.
the snow bills are low. We laughed a lot this year in December. So we bought a brand new plow truck, and the guy took the plow off the truck. It was hard to drive around because there was no snow.
Right.
Right.
And everybody laughed at him. He didn't need the truck, and then it snowed, and then he's been driving the truck for a month and a half.
Right. No
sleep
sleep.
all the time.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we appreciate,
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on.
Mark.
all right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's Marc Resnick, and he's with the Beantown Company, and he'll be speaking tonight as well.
All right.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back on Money Matters Radio Network.
Rick Kaplan and Eric Wilson, right here on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com. The next level in commercial real estate. This is New England Real Estate Radio on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com.
Commercial real estate can be a risky endeavor if you don't have all the information you need to make an educated decision. Why spend time digging for data when CompStack provides investors, lenders, and landlords accurate lease comps for office, industrial, and retail properties, starting rents, concessions, and more in just a few clicks? The world's largest investors and lenders use CompStack to benchmark their properties and underwrite their deals. Shouldn't you? CompStack. Better data, better deals. Visit getleasecomps.com today.
Rick Kaplan on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com. New England Real Estate Journal Radio.
And our next guest on the New England and the New York Real Estate Journal radio show is Jason Weissman. He is the principal of the Boston Realty Advisor.
Boston Realty Advisors, that's right.
Boston
Thank you for
Realty
joining us.
Advisor.
Thanks for having me.
Now you're going to be on one of the speakers on the panel as well,
That's right.
and you're going to be talking about
Whatever anybody has to ask, I'm here to comment.
So what does the Boston Realty Advisors do so that we can see what your expertise is before I ask you a weird question when you're in the panel?
Good. So Boston Realty Advisors, full-service commercial brokerage and residential brokerage company based here in Boston, one of the largest independently owned brokerages in New England. And I started the firm in 2001. We have investment sales, corporate real estate, and then, of course, the residential brokerage.
Now, are you only primarily here right and directly in Boston, or are you...
We have offices in Boston, but we focus on New England real estate.
Okay.
A lot of our real estate transactions happen to be in the inside 128 region, but we sell throughout New England.
So you're also So you're selling properties in New Hampshire and Connecticut, Rhode Island as well.
And how's the market going for sales?
Defining in the investment sales market is the best we've seen it. There's an incredible amount of liquidity in the marketplace. All the banks, life, agency. So there's ample debt out there for buyers who want to purchase commercial real estate. The issue is finding a deal and winning the bidding process. And there's very limited opportunities out there to actually find and purchase opportunities. There's a lot of competition out there right now.
Now, are there a lot more transactions starting to come out of some of the other markets, like the Hartford, Connecticut areas, and the Nashua?
That's a great question. And so in terms of I predicted this about a year ago that folks were going to try to chase yield outside of the core markets of Boston and New York and primary markets, and they were going to look at those tertiary and secondary markets, secondary and tertiary markets. And the one that's really coming back right now is Rhode Island, and that's a market that's seeming to come back. It has some capitulation and one of the last to really recover. So you're seeing in that also New Hampshire. I see a lot of folks chasing yield, and so yeah, people are definitely expanding their scope of geography that they're looking at.
And is it just because some of the Boston market is becoming untouchable?
I'd say that's one of the reasons, and one of the biggest reasons that people are looking in other areas is the influx of international capital that's really playing. They have different rules of engagement. Their yield that they're looking when they acquire these assets are, frankly, less than local investors who are looking to cash flow. These investors are buying these properties for certain reasons, such as capital reserve, or I should say currency reserve, from their currency where they're located, so they can buy an asset at a 3.5 cap and wait and be patient. And the best part of it, have no debt. So time makes you look really good in this business, so they could just hold these assets and wait.
Yeah, now one of the things that we've noticed in the last couple of years, a lot of these new companies, software companies that are coming up with the comp rates, that you can figure your comp rates very quickly. Has that helped some of your transactions move along?
So are you talking about like Zillow and
well, like CompStack,
yeah,
companies on that?
So there's a lot of digital information out there, but you still need to verify and validate that information. You still need to see if that information is credible. And so, of course, CoStar calls myself, and they call the rest of my firm all the time looking for comps. So all these guys who are collecting data, it's only as good as the people who are collecting the data and who they're getting it from. And so you need to verify it. So in our job, yeah, there's a lot of great data sources that are available, but a lot are pay to play. RCA, of course, CoStar, and it's something, the tax records, you put it together. And we've been putting a lot of time and money into our company's research. And but for the best, from the single family perspective, Zillow definitely provides the general end user homeowner a lot of information,
right? Much
more that was available 10 years ago.
And when you say residential, I'm sorry to cut you off, but do you mean condos, or you actually mean like single family homes?
So we in terms of my brokerage company,
yes.
Yeah, but we're very unique in the sense that we actually do have we have a residential brokerage company that sells single family and condominiums in the Boston, Brookline, Cambridge area. Mm-hmm. New construction, new development, but that's a part of the company. It's not to be confused with our multifamily investment sales platform, and that's selling multifamily properties, right. Really 2 and 3 units to 300.
Right, so you do a little bit of both, but they're sort of separate.
We're a company of specialists. We have about 45 brokers, and again, it's not right or wrong, but we think it's the best that we have specialists. So we have practice leaders, if you will, people who run multifamily, retail, debt, capital services, corporate real estate.
I don't think it's a bad idea. A lot of law firms do the same thing.
They do, but a great firm in New York, Massey & Knakal, that was just acquired by Cushman & Wakefield, they go by the territory system. Mm-hmm. So it is a specialty on submarket in a territory where they will cut up certain geography of the city and have focused specialists in which so they could cover all the asset classes within that specific territory.
Mm-hmm. That's so weird. I was going to say, what do you think about all these mergers that have taken place in the last 4 or 5 years?
It's unbelievable.
With all these big companies
so Cushman is now for sale. Cushman & Wakefield.
Right.
The Agnelli family has put their 81% interest on the market for sale. DTZ has just bought Cassie Turley, and as an independently owned brokerage company, the fallout's frankly great. And we're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to be independent, and we're going to continue to own the Boston market and just be focused on what I mean by Boston is the New England market. Yeah. So it's frankly just going to help us be stronger because our firm isn't for sale. and we have, again, 45 brokers and just continuing to grow, and we focus on our sub-market, our clients. We do not have to report to Wall Street or anything like that.
Right.
We have a small group of owners and all focused on our clients.
Yeah, well, I think that might be a good thing for a lot of the international investors too, because I think that a lot of them look for that.
Well, they do. The international investors, they want focused specialists within the Boston market when they're coming here to buy real estate. And, we actually our firm is going to, a couple associates are going to MPIM in Cannes, France next week, or I should say the 10th. And so we like to go direct to try to meet the international investors. So we don't rely on an international network like a CB or a Cushman, and we think those are overrated, frankly. We like to go direct to the international finders who are seeking Boston real estate.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. I know the panel is going to be starting in a couple of seconds, but this is Jason Weissman, Boston Realty Advisor.
Bingo.
And we appreciate you coming on the
thanks
show.
for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you, guys.
On the panel. Hopefully
and actually, we'll have to have you on our show, our weekly show, because
we can probably break down a lot more of what you just talked about.
Right, we have a lot of
interesting. We talked about a
things.
lot of issues, but very happy to be on here, and we love NEREJ. Great publication.
Great, thank you.
Of course.
Thanks again.
And we'll be right back on Money Matters Radio Network.
Rick Kaplan and Eric Wilson, right here on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com. New England Real Estate Journal Radio.
And we're back on New England and New York Real Estate Journal Radio. I'm Rick Kaplan with Eric Wilson, and we're coming to a close with another show. But before we go, we have Ben Chudnovsky, and Ben is with Spy Realty.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
He's our host today at this event, who happened to invite us, and we want to thank Ben for that. Thank you
That's
so
right.
much.
I was just going to mention that, Eric. Thank you for taking that out of my words out of my mouth.
I haven't talked a lot today at the show.
But Ben is actually one of the sponsors of this event.
That is correct.
And this is the first real estate summit for the
YJP, Young Jewish Professionals of Boston.
It's been a long show for Rick.
It has been a long show for
Two things you tell us. One, what is Spy Realty for our viewers? And also, how did you get involved with the YJP?
Absolutely. So I will start with the second question. So YJP is a Young Jewish Professional of Boston organization. It's a network organization. So I would say from 21 or 22 years old, right after you graduate your business school or your liberal arts school, I mean, you're exposed to all these different opportunities in the city.
Yep.
So what should you do? You know, a lot of people come from West Coast, a lot of international people, a lot of, like myself, I'm from Russia. I grew up in Russia. And so I'm new to the town. So how you socialize, how you build your network of friends, of influence, of connections to develop in a career and obviously in a social circle. So we come up with this idea of YJP because we're Jewish, and we decided what's the the best and easy way to connect is to connect with like-minded people. And we have different venues. We have real estate, which I'm a part of the co-chair of. We have legal services. A lot of lawyers are in Boston, unfortunately. So we have some doctors, and we have fourth one is medical. You have beautiful Harvard Medical School. You have Beth Israel. So we define that those four categories are the most prominent and the most connected and networked in the city of Boston.
Right.
So myself, as I mentioned before, I'm the managing partner of SpyRealty.com. It's a online brokerage company that gives refund to the buyers. So we mostly represent buyers on the retail end. We provide them with all the data and information necessary to acquire any property, single family, condominiums, multifamily. But the trick here is that they have to do the open houses themselves independently. So we don't dog walk them. Right. So we give them the liberty and freedom of attending as many open houses, as many shows and apartments views as they want. And then once they're ready, they say, Ben, we love this property, we love this condo, this house, please help us. Then with the full brokerage, licensed brokers of Massachusetts and New York State, we come into the marketplace and we represent them with their fiduciary duties and their loyalty to the client. And once again, we only represent the buyers in transaction. Right. So that's our retail part. We also have another division of Spy Realty, it's a pure investment company. We invest in commercial, retail spaces, multifamily buildings, and office spaces. We do this across the East Coast, and we are part of the Russian investment group, and New York insurance companies. They partner with us.
Wow.
Wow.
So there's quite a few properties.
True.
This is the whole East Coast.
And how long have you been here in America?
In America, so it's a very great question. So,
because you speak very well,
but I have thick, heavy Ruski accent, Russian accent.
Right.
That's good.
Turns people on.
You're too kind. Thank you. I mean, they say that, the better quality of vodka it dilutes the accent. So
right.
I always kind of on a good smooth mood just to get rid of my accent. So it helps me a lot. But I actually came here first in 2006.
Okay.
And I started a Babson Business School, my bachelor, my undergrad education. Then I lived for a few years in Boston, where I started my real estate career. First as an agent, then I became a broker. Then I lived in New York, in Manhattan, in the city, just to get the vibe, just to see what's going on there. Because
see what all the jazz was about with New York.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now, for the past 2 years, I actually went back to Mother Russia. I got a little bit tired of the American East Coast scene, and I decided let's go back on track to Mother Russia. And I went there to Russian Presidential Academy. It's like similar of Harvard School, of Boston, of the United States.
Right.
So I've studied politics, economics, and business. But it was a very interesting program since it was joint program with a California State University. And it was MBA. It was a dual, I got 2 degrees. I got MBA from, California State, and I also got the degree from Russian Presidential Academy.
Wow.
And, I spent, as I mentioned, 2 years in Moscow building, the network and bridging the America, East Coast, West Coast, and the Russian investors, Russian people, those, those affluent families and offices that would like to invest and bring money and investments to the East Coast.
Wow. That's
so
awesome.
And then basically I came back in the middle of the financial crisis in Russia and the political crisis. So it's much safer, I would say, to be here right now and enjoy all the food, all the kosher food, because right now, as you know, Russia is under sanctions.
Right.
So we don't have as much food.
Right.
Obviously I'm fooling around a little bit here, but you can feel the economy is being shrink there. You don't have enough leverage, you don't have enough of liquidity on the market. So obviously a lot of people are looking into the opportunities to buy on the East Coast.
Nice.
Well, I hear they're ready to put on the
Absolutely.
speakers, but I appreciate you inviting us, Ben.
Thank you for being here, and I really would love.
And you love that you got a Yiddish cup and you got a Goyish cup on the same show.
And
thank you.
Means,
that's okay. That's all good. That's all good. Pleasure. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it, and we will definitely. It's first of many events and summits to be in Boston, and I would love New England Real Estate Journal and Radio to be here as often as it's.
And we'd be happy to help.
We'd be happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Ben.
it, sir.
Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think this deal is done.